Sick. Okay, so Small Axe Talks, episode 4. I'm here with Alex.
What's going on? How you doing?
Yeah, hell yeah. So I know we were talking about earlier before, you would, after high school, where'd you go to high school again?
So I went to high school in Mesa. I went to Westwood. Go Warriors, you know. But it was kind of...
When'd you graduate? What year?
I graduated 09. So
that's when I graduated. Okay.
there you go.
Yeah.
You know. But my mom went there. My uncle went there. I live closer to Mountain View and Mesa High, but a bunch of my buddies were going to there, and we wanted to play ball together and stuff, and it was just kind of a no-brainer. So
yeah. Okay. Hell yeah. So what made you, like, when you were getting closer to graduating, and I know you were really into basketball, right? I mean, that was something that you were considering pursuing,
right?
like as a career, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So what made you go up to Iowa? How'd you end up making that
decision? Basketball is something that I, even from like 3 years old, I mean, my first word was ball. I mean, product just standard. Had a ball in my hands all the time. I used to love watching. Born in 91, so I used to love watching Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway were like my favorite players. I had a little doll that I used to always hold on to, and I would be watching the games on television. But so like as soon as I was old enough, I was like, Mom, I want to play basketball. So she put me in leagues, and I loved it. I just loved the adrenaline rush. I love competing. I really have that competitive drive. That I think I got that from my uncle. But the older I got and competing against older kids and stuff, and like that, it never wavered. A lot of kids, they'll do basketball, they'll do football, they'll try karate, they'll play an instrument or two, whatever, and then just kind of parents will kind of try and find that niche with them.
Yeah.
My mom tried a little bit, but I mean, I think I did karate for like 3 weeks. I didn't want to go one day because I wanted to shoot hoops in the driveway instead.
Oh, shit. Oh, yeah.
And she was like, if you don't go, then I'm not taking you back. And I was like, all right, fine, whatever. I'm just gonna shoot around in the driveway till dinner time. Like, cool, it's easy. It's a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
I played an instrument. I played the trumpet for like 3 months because my grandfather did, and I was like, well, I'd rather play basketball,
Yeah.
And so it was pretty much a no-brainer from the jump. I was playing for the school team in high school, and then it's called AAU, it's Amateur Athletic Union, and what it is essentially it's club basketball. So I was playing with guys from other high schools, and we had a traveling team. So we'd play a lot of tournaments here in state, but we'd also play in LA, we'd play in Vegas, we had a couple tournaments in Houston, and then the one that the school in Iowa that I went to, they saw me at a tournament in Nebraska, and so they started contacting me, just because the way that works is your information gets pushed out, to all of these scouts essentially, and there's certain periods throughout the calendar year that they can reach out to you essentially.
Okay.
So.
And what, like, say, hey, this is the school we're
right, yeah, like, so it'd be like an assistant coach. You'd call and be like, hey, my name is so-and-so from this school. I saw you play, have you ever considered coming out here? Really like your style, or I guess nowadays it'd probably be more through email or phone conversations. And this school in particular, I mean, they were emailing me, and I was getting emails and letters in the mail from a handful of schools. And then I started getting phone calls, and then, but it wasn't the assistant coach, it was the head coach, and he was calling me and then the phone calls came more frequently. Jesus, and then he was calling me every weekend, and he was just calling basically just to shoot the shit. He was like, how's school going? How's life? How's basketball? I'm really looking forward to getting you out here for a visit. So,
wow.
I went out there with my stepdad. We went on a campus visit. We watched, I think they were out of season, but stayed with the basketball guys, played a couple of scrimmages with them. And for me, that effort that he put forth every weekend to reach out and just to check in really sold me, because I'm huge on relationships, and he was really taking the
building
time.
a relationship.
Right. And aside from running a basketball program and getting his team ready to compete against other schools, he was also taking the time to build for the future as well. Wow. So for me, that resonated a lot, and that was something that I really gravitated towards. So when the time came, it was pretty much a no-brainer to,
Go out there.
go out there. Yeah. It was different for sure, just because I didn't have any family out there. I'd been out there once, basically, and
So tell me again, because it was like a small
school. So it's just outside of Cedar Rapids, Mount Vernon, Iowa. Okay. It's got about 4,000 residents, which, like I said, it's a huge difference from growing up in, Mesa and Tempe and Phoenix and all of that,
Yeah.
So it was definitely a culture shock. The school had 1,500 students, whereas my high school had 3,600. You know what I'm saying?
Wow,
so it was a huge learning curve. But I think I told you before, it was so good for me just to step outside of my comfort zone, and that was the first time that lesson had been made obvious to me, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because I could have just as easily gone to ASU or gone to MCC and, just kind of stayed close to home and ran around with the same group of guys and never really grew from a mental standpoint or emotional standpoint, just figured out what I could accomplish on my own. It really made me have to grow and mature that much quicker than a lot of my peers who chose to stay close to home.
So did you end up building like a pretty decent relationship with that head coach, or what happened with him?
So
no,
this is funny. The summer after I graduated, before I went out there, my stepdad, he was also a football coach for Tempe High School. So that summer before I went out there, I was training with the football guys. I was going to their camps and working out with them, and then I'd break off and go play pickup with a bunch of my friends or whatever. But I remember getting home one day and just sat down and was just kind of hanging out at home, and I get a phone call, and it's from my coach, and the coach out in Iowa. And I was like, I remember thinking to myself, man, wouldn't it be so funny if he was calling me to tell me that he was going to be the coach next year?
Oh, fuck.
And I answered the call, and he was like, hey, Alex, I just want to let you know that I'm not going to be coach. And I was like, my mind was like, it was like what just happened? Like what's going on? What's going to happen? So I told my mom, and at this point I'm already like, I committed, and like I was already starting to pack my stuff up, and I was like, well, what can you do? You just go out there, and the new coach reached out to me, and
So where'd he end up going?
So he went to Rhodes College. The thing with the Division III schools is they don't really offer athletic scholarships, but what the athletic departments will do is they'll kind of work with you to pretty much dig and find every academic scholarship that they can find to kind of compensate for that. Yeah. So, but a lot of schools, this one in particular, at least, it was a liberal arts college. So a lot of their revenue came in through drama and theater. And I mean, they had a gorgeous state-of-the-art theater. I could still see it's all glass, beautiful. They have like one of those old-fashioned organs. Yeah, it's gorgeous. And in retrospect, I wish I had spent more time going to some of the shows, but there wasn't a lot of, when people thought of Cornell College, they didn't think of the athletics program, so they cut his paycheck. And he's got 4 kids and a wife, and so he was, even despite taking the team to the national tournament the year prior and winning the conference championship.
Holy fuck.
Right. And I was just like, man, that's kind of shitty, but I get it. Like, you have to make a living. So he went to another school, and I think he's still there. I know that a couple of my teammates that were seniors when I was a freshman, after they graduated, they went and coached with him for a little bit. But I talked to him a little bit here and there, and then just kind of he had his thing going on. Yeah, I mean he has recruiting for that program and his family. I think it was in Tennessee or something like that. And obviously, I'm so embedded in what I've got going on at 19 years old. You can't really sway me to keep contact with someone who I've met on limited occasions.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it was the new coach came in, and it was his first coaching gig, and he was from the Chicago area, suburbs of Chicago, and I just remember like he was fiery, like which is okay with me, but
like to overkill, like over the top.
I think that there was a lot of trial and error, a lot of fine tuning he had to do the first couple of years. And and we butt heads. And a lot of that came from me not really getting a whole lot of PT, a lot of playing time my first year.
Yeah.
And I told you, you know, he basically, he sat me down at the end of the season. Was like, well, I didn't play you a lot because you weren't ready to play. And this is what I need from you. And, you know, I was like, you know, to me, it was like a slap in the face. And, you know, came home that summer and trained and whatever. I went back, and basically it was like fueling the fire, because I had next to no respect for this guy at the time, you know. I came home and was like, man, forget that. I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I'm not going back. Forget that guy. I'm not going back. I'm just going to transfer to ASU and go to school with my friends. She's like, no, you're not. She's like, I didn't drive you around to all these tournaments and fly all over this side of the country for you just to pack it in now.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, she was like, if he told you you need to get better, then you need to get better. And I mean, that's the bottom line. And coming from my mom, who's pretty much played mom and dad, you know, from the age of 3, that was just like, are you serious? You know, and, you know, I was upset or whatever. And I woke up the next morning, and, you know, now I had the motivation from my coach telling me I wasn't good enough, and my mother telling me I wasn't good enough. And I set out on a mission the entire summer, you know, and I made that happen. And I got back to campus that fall, and we were playing some scrimmages, and he kind of peeking, and he'd be like, he pulled me in his office one day and was like, you know, I can't not play you. The growth that you've made is so, you know, great. You know, it'd be foolish for me not to play you. And I was like, all right, cool. I turned around and walked out. I mean, I still didn't have any respect for him. None whatsoever. I mean, hardly spoke to him during practices. And so that year he started me.
That's got to be add a lot of anxiety to, like,
you know,
your life, right?
It did, but at the time I didn't recognize it as anxiety.
Yeah.
I just was, you know, I wasn't really good at pinpointing anxiety until I was like 25.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just recently, like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, so at the time I was just like, screw him.
Fuck this
guy. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He doesn't know shit.
Right. Yeah. This is his first coaching job. What the hell does he know? Yeah. Screw this guy. You know. Fuck. But my teammates voted me to be captain, and so I started all the games. So I went from sitting at the end of the bench to starting and being a team captain for those guys, which was really a big deal to me. I really wore that title proudly while I was there, and but still, again, even being a captain and essentially a confidant for the coaching staff to confide in, as well as the players to confide in. You know, we were the captains. There was 3 of us, and it was myself and 2 seniors, and we were kind of like the middle of the road for both parties, you know. So you've got the players who are bitching and complaining about the coaching staff. You got the coaching staff bitching and complaining about the players. Jesus. And we hear it all. And so they're like, oh, we play liaison essentially. So like, oh, these guys think we should do this, and the coaches are like, well, you guys need to do this better. So we got to go back, you know, and it's just back and forth. But aside from all of that, there was still no respect for this coach. You know, I was just like, I don't know. He was borderline a tyrant on the sideline, you know, stomping his feet and getting red in the face. And then he'd yell at us for getting fired up on the court. And we're like, what?
That's a mind fuck.
Right. You know, so I'll never forget. I'll never forget. There was, it was late in the season. It was probably February. And my stepdad came out, and we were playing a conference opponent at home. And just late in the game, we're probably like down 6 or something. Close game with like 4 minutes left. Crucial possession. So I've got the ball right in front of our bench, and my coach is yelling. He's standing right behind me. He's yelling at me, throw the ball inside, because the crowd is, you know, everyone's into it or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, throw the ball into the post. Throw it to so-and-so in the post. And I see him. I hear what he's saying. I see him. I didn't see an angle. So I passed it to someone else instead, and the ball got stolen. And they scored another way. And, you know, now all of a sudden you go from it was a 6-point game, and we could have made it a 4-point game. Yeah. Now all of a sudden it's an 8-point game, which, you know, that just plays a lot into your approach mentally to the rest of how the game plays out. So we called a timeout, and I knew he was pissed off at me. And because as soon as I made the pass, I turned around, and I'm like, I didn't fucking see an angle there. And my stepdad's sitting like 4 rows behind, you know, and my coach is just staring at me. He's just like ready to he's ready to light me up. So he calls a timeout, and I walk right past him. I knew he was going to chew me out. He grabs me by the collar and whips me around. It's like, if you ever fucking talk to me that way again, you'll sit at the end of the bench for the rest of your career.
Damn.
And I just kind of brushed his arm off and went and sat at the end of the bench. And we ended up losing the game or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was fired. Like, I was like, man, I was seeing red for like 3 days. I was like,
wow, holy shit.
guy, you know, and we just butted heads, you know, and so I think the next couple games, I was kind of on his hit list. You know, he was kind of targeting me, you know, like in practices and stuff. He's like, oh, you want to run your mouth, huh? You think you know better than me, huh? Well, do this. Yeah, see, that's why. And I was just like, fuck you, you know, basically. And then something happened, man. Like the season ended, and I ended up sticking around for the summer and training there. So like I'd go into the gym at like 6, I'd lift, and then I'd go upstairs and get shots up and do drill work and stuff. And he pulled me into his office one day, and you know, by this time things had kind of died down a little bit. And I mean, he just like opened the floodgates to me. I mean, he was just frustrated. We didn't have a great season. And he was just like, I don't know what to do. You know, I'm trying to get these guys to resonate with me, and I don't really know how to do that. You know, I'm trying, but they don't seem to be responding.
He's saying this to you?
He's saying this to me. I mean,
wow. And you have no relationship with this guy.
Like, yeah. And for me, it was just like, it totally took me off guard, because I'm expecting to hear some cliche rah-rah speech about how we're going to go get him next season and how da-da-da-da-da. But he totally threw me for a loop. He's like, I've been reading a lot, and, you know, I've been praying a lot and going to church and talking with my wife and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I'm just sitting before him at the ripe age of 20, essentially.
He's asking you.
Right. And for the answers, essentially, you know, and I'm just like, you know what, coach, I got you. I'm with you. We're going to get this. We're going to make this happen. You know, and I think that was a huge turning point in my relationship with him, because at the end of the day, we both just wanted the same thing. We both just wanted to be successful.
Yeah.
You know, and we had different ways of expressing it, but that's any relationship, you know, that you're in, that you have with somebody, people are gonna have different ways of going about expressing something.
But you have to talk about it.
Exactly.
That's the main thing.
His willingness to do that really made me a lot more comfortable. And then from that point forward, you know, I was his guy. Like, if he needed something, if he needed to bounce something off my chest, if he needed to vent, you know, I mean, I would house sit for him, you know.
Damn, dude. Wow.
So I would watch his house after I graduated and stuff. He had a puppy there, and I, you know, just kind of keep an eye out for his house and stuff. And I mean, that was 5-6 years ago now, and we kind of fell off a little bit, but I still reach out to him occasionally. Really? He's coaching at a school in Washington, I believe now. Okay. Yeah, him and his wife and his daughter moved out there. So
nice.
I think it's his first year, but moved out there, and it's just, he was the first adult that was willing to open up to me and talk to me man to man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, hell yeah.
And I think that at its core, that's where my respect came from. It wasn't basketball. It wasn't, you know, wanting to win. Yeah, all that stuff's important. But at the end of the day, you know, as humans, we just want to feel validated, you know? And so his willingness to put everything else that we'd been through aside and address me man to man as an equal, and not, even though he was a coach and I was a player, that really resonated with me. And from that point forward, regardless of what my teammates were bitching and complaining about, or if the coaching staff was on my back about something, for me, that held true. And even today, you know, I have the utmost respect for him for that. So,
that's cool. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that translates across like a lot of different areas too, because it's like, even like you could put that in, you know, a work or a job situation where, you know, your boss is a total fucking asshole, and they, you know how, I mean, they're not willing to be real with people. Yeah. They just want to be fucking like tyrants, basically. Right. And it's like you end up not only not having any relationship with that person, but
you almost resent them for it at the end of the day too, you know. And that's the thing, like for me, you know, playing basketball so long, a lot of those lessons carry over into life.
That's cool.
You know, as far as just being able to communicate and being a leader, and you know, fighting through adversity was something that my high school coach used to always play through adversity.
Really?
You know, and yeah. So like now, like say I have to work, and you know, I don't feel so well, or say, you know, I'm in a tight spot financially or whatever, my car breaks down. You got to figure it out. You know, and that's really just figuring things out as we go, and you know, being in our mid to late 20s,
Yeah.
we're all trying to just figure things out, you know,
yeah.
because there's so many things being thrown at us and so many stigmas being thrown at us that we just got to figure it out one day at a time.
That's what I feel like, because I know. So you're at ASU, right?
So now, no, I'm not taking classes now.
Okay.
Actually, I might take classes next or this coming semester, but I was taking prerequisites after I moved home. I wanted to do physical therapy.
Yeah.
Kind of switched paths, and now I just applied to PA school. So
Okay.
I'm waiting to hear back, and in the meantime, I'm kind of exploring my options. I'm thinking about retaking some classes and try and boost my GPA a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I can take those classes at the community college level. So
Okay.
I probably will end up being at ASU next
Yeah.
semester. So
And what can you do with that again? As far as like with that sort of, what are you trying or thinking that you're gonna go into?
So being a physician assistant, there's so many specialties, and you know, for me, obviously, with my background in sports, I would love to, you know, be an orthopedic physician assistant and do something like along those lines. I'm pretty partial to kids, and I would really enjoy I think I would enjoy to a degree being a pediatric physician assistant, but
Oh wow, okay.
you know, there's also that's glorifying the positive, the pros of it. You know, there's also the cons where, you know, you have to tell parents some news that they might not want to hear. And that's, I don't know if I could do that. You know?
Yeah, man, that's a lot of like real shit on a daily basis.
Yeah. And, you know, to look into a 4-year-old's eyes and, you know that something's wrong that can't be fixed, and they're just smiling at you. You know, I don't know if I could, I don't know. And they've got young parents that are hopeful as ever too. Yes.
But you know, you want to do something along the lines of helping people in some sort of way.
For sure. And even like, you know, now, you know, like I told you, I work at Postino, and even, you know, if, not so much when I'm on the floor serving, but if I'm behind the bar, it's essentially therapy to a degree.
Really?
You got people coming in, and, you know, they've had a long day, or they've got something going on in their relationship. Or they had a falling out with a friend, or finances, or whatever. And it's listening, you know, and you get a couple drinks in somebody, and then they don't want to listen. They don't, you know, they start asking you for advice, but they don't want to hear what you have to say anyway. So what I just kind of, I'm like,
listen.
Yeah, just listen. Yeah. You know, but the thing is with that is it expands my what's the word I'm looking for? Exposure to a lot of different dynamics, people's backgrounds, and, you know, what they might do for a living, and something I'd never even thought of, or them experiencing issues in life that I would never even fathom coming across. You know, and putting it in perspective for me. So
that's
I'm
fucking
grateful
cool
for that in that regard. As long as I try and keep it in that light, you know, then I think I'll be all right. So
damn, yeah, that's cool. So I know you've been in the restaurant for a couple of years, right? So how have you seen that kind of like change as far as like business wise, or as far as like customer base wise, or is it still pretty much the same as when you started?
The one that I'm at is pretty consistent, just because it's nestled in a neighborhood. So we get a lot of people that might work from home, or, you know, they work in the area, they come in for lunch, or a lot of people ride their bikes in, a lot of people walk, you know, so we see a lot more regulars than you might see at some of the other locations.
I love that area.
It's great. It's a great area. It's cool. It's a great area to raise a family. And there's a lot to do there. And it's funny because even growing up in Mesa, I had no idea that any of that stuff was there.
Really?
Yeah, not until recently, you know.
Really?
So like right before I started working there, really.
It's pretty relaxed though, right?
It's very relaxed, and it's great, you know. Especially like on the weekends, people will bike up and they'll hang out, they'll have a few beers or enjoy time together. People bring their families in. It's great. It's cool to see, just because you don't really see that where I live in Mesa. It's just not a lot going on outside. It's kind of people going from point A to point B, and that's it. So
that sucks. That's why I lived in Portland for like a year, and it's the same thing up there, except even more. So there's all these different like really cool neighborhoods, like Arcadia, for example, and then they each have their own little, like Hawthorne and Mississippi, like they have their own little like area for that neighborhood, and everybody kind of like just walks there
congregates and hangs out, and you see
fucking
people
awesome.
that know each other and stuff. It's cool. It's cool. That is something that I didn't know that I would have liked, but you know, in the future when it comes time to buy a house and do all that stuff, like that'd be cool. It'd be cool to have, you know, because like in Mesa, there's not a whole lot to do. There are like next to no bars, just you know, and everything closes at like 10. You know, just because the demographic is so much older or you know whatever.
That's depressing.
It is, but it is, and I always tell people. I tell people too. It keeps me grounded. It keeps me focused because 27 years old. I could be living in Tempe, right off of Mill. I could be living in Old Town or something. I could be living in Central Phoenix or whatever, and getting into all sorts of stuff every night. You know, but you know, by staying out of the way and just kind of staying focused, it doesn't. There's not as many distractions.
Yeah, so. I totally get that because I'm like, personally, I'm a total weirdo. So I'm not like everybody else, like my age, like where people want to party and shit like that. But, you know, I went through that phase when I was in my young 20s where I did go out and it just totally did not fucking resonate with me at all. Right. And I don't even drink at all anymore, but I used to drink. And, you know, I got to a point where, you know, I was drinking a lot and I was just drinking just to kind of get shit faced. And I ended up getting a DUI, and long story short, like I decided, I like really reevaluated, you know, what I was doing. But it's like, I feel like there's also a lot of people that don't resonate with that sort of like, and it gets old quick, man. I mean, like it's fucking boring. Like when I used to go out to places and it's like, for me, it gets fucking old quick.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, I've never been a big drinker. Like growing up, my mom never had alcohol in her. I've never seen her with a beverage in her hand.
Really?
I didn't have my first drink until I was 21, 22 or something. And, you know, so for me, like, I don't know, like I see people like go out and they drink anywhere from 3 to 5 nights a week, just like you said, getting shit faced, and I'm like, fuck, wow, like, you know, one night, if I go out one night in 3 months and it ends up like that, I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, and people are doing it day in and day out. I can't do it, you know, and like even now, being in the restaurant industry, I get off of work and like I don't want to go out.
You're tired.
I've been talking to people. I tell people all the time. I've been talking to people for 9 hours. I do not want to go out after work. I want to go home. I want to be by myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
A lot of people like that bar scene. They like the social aspect of it, and I mean, I get that. I can definitely understand where they're coming from with that, but it's not for me. My sister and I, we talk a lot about meeting. Having social caps, you know.
What do you mean?
And so just like if I'm interacting with people, you know, I mean, and we're good, we're having great conversation, but then all of a sudden, you know, like it's just I'm good. Like I've interact, like I met my quota. Like so now I'm ready to be alone, and
like you're ready to walk away from this person?
like I'm just, you know, like, and so I guess I'm weird in that way too, you know, it's because I love my me time is so important to me, and you know, going through my 20s, I feel like for me that's very important to me in terms of my mental health and just, you know, being sometimes I get home after getting off of work late for whatever reason. I get home and I just want to put some headphones in and just chill. You know, like I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't need to be drinking. I just listen to some relaxing music. I got a nice little patio right outside my bedroom, so I'll just kind of kick back up there, and I love stargazing.
That's dope.
And so I'll just kind of stare and watch the moon and stuff, and you know, it's just relaxing. It's therapeutic.
Speaking of stargazing, there has got to be a fucking way for cities to like create lighting that doesn't fuck up the sky. Seriously. Because dude, when I'll drive to California like maybe a couple times a year, okay, and I'll come back at nighttime. I'll drive back at nighttime, and I'll stop like at a random point in the middle of the desert, and I look up in the sky. Holy fuck, man! It's amazing. And we miss out on that. Like, I don't know if Elon Musk can like think of some shit.
He's probably got something in the works.
But isn't that such like a tragedy that we can't see? We're missing out on this like epic fucking thing every single night.
Right. So like that sucks. Growing up, like you said, growing up in the city, you look up and you see 18 stars in the sky and the moon, and you're like, oh my gosh, look at the sky,
Yeah.
you know. But then like when I was in Iowa in that rural town, like one of the nights I looked up and it was like stars just speckled the sky, and it was just so fascinating, you know. And it's just because there's less lighting, and no one from Phoenix that has ever been anywhere else would even know about that, you know. And so I got to the point to where I would just keep a like a blanket in the back of my pickup truck, and I would just go like my sophomore year, I would go and I lived in a dorm, and behind there was a huge field. I just roll a blanket out and just lay down at night and just stare up at the sky.
It was badass,
just chill.
yeah.
Oh man, it was.
I'm sure there it was amazing, right?
Yeah, it was great.
What was the
amazing.
town called again?
Mount Vernon.
Mount Vernon.
Mount Vernon.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Fuck.
Just any small, like even in Prescott, you know, my girlfriend will go up there every once in a while, or Flagstaff, if you kind of get away from the city portion of the town a little bit, or the nestled portion of the town, you can kind of see a little bit more. So
I could totally see myself like later in life moving to a place like Flagstaff or something like that, where it's not as crazy, but you know, it's still like Flagstaff, I think is like 70,000 people or something like that. There's still like a decent amount of people there because like I just love fucking nature, you know. I love being out in nature
great.
and stuff like that.
I got a funny story. We were in Flagstaff probably about a month ago maybe, and we're at this bar, and you know, we went out to dinner and stuff. We were just kind of hanging out, and I was unaware. This was my first time like in Flagstaff, like
really?
And it's total college town. I had no idea.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You know, and it was funny for me because it reminded me of Mount Vernon on a larger scale, obviously, because NAU has more students.
Yeah.
But I'm walking around and I'm like, you know, college student this place, college students at this place, and I just want to have a nice drink with my girl. You know, like I'm not trying to, you know, I'm just trying to sit down.
You're not trying to do a fucking bong or beer bong, fucking whatever.
I'm not trying to do all that, man. So anyways, we're at this bar, and we just walked in, and I'm ordering a drink for us, and this guy, this college kid, he's drunk and he's with a bunch of friends or whatever. He's like, he looks at my girl. He's like, "You're from Scottsdale, huh?" And I wasn't even paying attention at first, and she starts talking to him a little bit. I'm like, whatever, let me just get these drinks. And then I hear her voice, like I can tell, I hear it in her voice, like she's getting agitated, and I'm like, what's going on? You know, then he looks at me and is like, "Oh, you from Scottsdale too, huh?"
Like sizing you
I'm
up.
like, what are you talking about? He's like, you got that look on your face. And granted, I have a hat on, my hat's pulled low. I'm like, no, man, you got this twisted. Like, you know, and his girlfriend's trying to like de-escalate him and stuff. And I'm like, man, so I told him, I was like, let's just go. Let's go. This isn't
no bueno.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's different, but you know, I mean, it's just funny. We were talking about it later, and I told my sister about it too. We have a lot of conversations about social interactions and stuff like that. It's fascinating. And we were talking about how, you know, someone from a smaller town would perceive, you know, Scottsdale, for instance, never lived in Scottsdale. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Spent limited time there, and people will see you, how the way you dress, the way whatever, you know, the way you present yourself, and they'll automatically associate you with, you know, everyone hears Scottsdale, they think, oh, Old Town, you know, where is where everybody goes to get all dolled up and put on a show and kind of claim their status based off of, you know, superficiality. And that's not me at all. You know, like, I like to present myself accordingly. Like, I go into work, I make sure that I'm groomed and, you know, my shirt's ironed and present myself, you know, professionally, if you will. But I take the time to do that, you know, and if you don't do that, that's cool. But, you know, I'm not going to judge you for it. I'm not going to place a stereotype on you for it, you know.
Well, there's a difference between being confident and taking pride in yourself and being a narcissist. Right. I mean, those are two different things. So it's like in our society, obviously, you know, looks and your status and wealth, those are very important things. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of people who, you know, they're trying to present themselves as being maybe what they want to be or what they want to be like. Right. But then you also have people like who just take care of themselves and, you know, maybe they have nice things, but they're not fucking all about material possessions.
And I get it, you know, and it kind of goes back to that old adage, you know, look the part, feel the part,
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
do the part, you
Fake
know,
it till you
but,
make it.
right, exactly. But at the same time, there's so much more to life than just wearing, you know, an outfit that costs X amount of dollars,
Definitely.
or driving a car that is this version of whatever, you know,
Yeah.
and people that get caught up in that, they kind of lose sense of what's really important, to me at least. I don't feel like that's the most important thing in life,
Yeah.
you know. So
Well, I mean, like me personally, like I like nice things and I want to live somewhat comfortably, but I'm not, you know, I don't care about having a mansion or having like 10
Right.
Ferraris or whatever. But a thing too is like, and I'm lucky enough to have experienced this because I haven't had like crazy exotic cars or like a lifestyle or anything, but my parents have done well enough to provide me with nice things. And like, you know, when I was in my early 20s, you know, I was already thinking, I was like, why, you know, I have all this shit, but like, it means fucking nothing to me. Like, it's not important to me. So it's like, why is it? It's like a never ending pit of fucking misery.
Yeah.
If you go down that route of just
you get lost in it. You get
Yeah.
lost, and it becomes, like you said, it's a pit, it's a cycle, and you know, you trying to get out of it, and then, you know, something gets released, and you're like, oh well, you know, I have, like, let's say you got 2017 Jack. Oh, they just came out with 2018, and it's the whatever. Now I got to get that, and then what's next? Then they come out with, and that's, I mean, you see, you know, one of the most common examples of that, I think, would be the iPhone. You know, you know, and you see people all the time, you know, oh, iPhone just came out with
to get the latest.
Right.
Yeah.
And for what? Like, for me, if mine works, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't need to, you know, I'm good. I'm good. I got a 7. I'm good.
Yeah.
You know,
I have a 7 too, and it's fucking awesome.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
it's a
I
great
don't have
phone,
any problems with it. I've never had to take it to the shop. You know, I'm good. I don't need the 10 plus XS. I don't know. I don't even know. I can't even keep up. But
yeah.
So,
No, I'm right there. Well, I already see, like, if you look at, that's the interesting thing about technology is it's like, I think the fucking iPhone came out in 08. So like, that's not long ago at all. So it's like, we've had this like rush or wave of innovation, but to me, it's almost like kind of starting to die down because it's like, they're coming out with these new phones and shit like that. But it's like, okay, yeah, it has a better fucking camera and it like, you know, you can play some stupid fucking game on there or whatever, but I don't do any of that shit. So
So what's the difference between the one that they're coming out with and the one you have now? I was reading something a while back, and I might get this wrong a little bit, but basically the idea was our phones that we have now have more power than the computers that they were using during some war, you know?
Yeah, where they were like a room, basically, was the computer?
Yeah, exactly. And it ended that the thought of that each individual has a personalized computer that at one point in history would have been able to dominate essentially whatever a military was trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
It's almost like mind-boggling, you know?
That is
and the
crazy.
thing is they just keep getting more and more powerful. And
but where's that going though? Where do you think that's going?
You know,
like, would you be interested in things like virtual reality or like shit like that?
You know, the phones are starting to come out with stuff like that, and I don't know. Like, I'm not really, like, I'm not gonna go get a headset. Like, it's cool to watch it on TV, and, you know, like, I don't know, maybe pop in on a 3D movie every once in a while, but I'm not gonna invest. You know, I think that Samsung has a headset that's like,
I've seen them.
Yeah, something like that. I'm not. It's not for me. You know, I just, like I said, I'm like you, and I use my phone, I text, and
you want to live in real life.
Right. And because of that, you know, I try not to be on my phone too much.
Yeah.
So,
that's fucking good, man.
I was trying, you know, because dude, I can't tell you how many times I see couples coming to work on dates or whatever, or even like just individuals coming to sit at the bar and they're just pull out their phone and they're just on their phone all the time. Yeah. And or like couples, you know, someone will be on their phone and whatever, you know, on a date, you know, like it's Friday night, it's 7:30 and you're on a date, you're dressed to the 9 and your partner's dressed to the 9, and, you know, you pull out your phone and you're just peering at your phone. And
that's so depressing.
I'm like, wow, you know, that's crazy. Like, anytime I go out on a date or whatever, like, my phone's on do not disturb, you know, and if someone's trying to reach me, I tell them, hey, look, I'm busy for whatever, just get back to me if it's important. Then let me know and I'll reach out to you. But like, if I'm but I get like the whole thing, like going to a bar, being on your phone. Like, I like reading articles, you know, so I have a lot
online.
Yeah. So
Really?
like, but you know, you think of how that's evolved from, you know, like the 80s or 90s or whatever, when, you know, people would go in and read newspapers or magazines or whatever.
Yeah.
And no one does that anymore. You know,
Yeah.
those are almost obsolete. There are tons of newspapers going out of business and magazines going out of business because everything's easily accessible online. So like, if I do go to a bar, you know, I'll grab my little spot at the end of the bar and grab a quick drink and just kind of scroll through an article, read, you know, like, well, yeah. So.
Yeah, but the shitty part about that too is it's like back when there were like these newspapers that, you know, were credible and people knew about. Now it's just like online. It's great that anybody could, you know, put content or put their input out there, like doing this, but it's also at the same time it's kind of shitty because there's so much fucking, like, it's an overload of the amount of stuff. Like, I have a certain amount of people and like things that I follow, but I'm like very, you know, I'm very picky when it comes to that stuff because you have to be, because otherwise you're just like, it's way too much shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there are like countless websites publishing the same articles, putting their own little twist on it, you know, and it's super overwhelming, you know, especially like if you're just looking for a quick piece of information and something catches your eye, and then all of a sudden you've got 18 websites that are trying to, you know, that are all saying the exact same thing. It's like, you know what, I don't even want to know anymore. It's not that important to me. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, definitely.
But I don't know. I understand, and I think it's interesting, the arc that technology and how it's slowly taking over society in general. But at the same time, it's tragic. You know, there's a lot less social interaction, and you see people are that much more awkward when interacting with people. You know, and I mean, think about dating apps. You know, or you know, like, it's so easy to tell when a couple comes in and they're on a first date and it's through a dating app. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just the awkward first hug or handshake.
It's like, oh, this is what you really look like.
Yeah, you know, and then they'll sit down and they'll kind of talk and feel each other out. They might order a glass of wine, but they don't want to eat food yet. And then I think we were talking about this. Remember, splitting the tab. You know, we talk about splitting the tab.
Fuck.
So you know, it's
at the end.
Yeah, at the end of the date or whatever, it can't be a good sign.
Yeah, if the guy's like, yeah, let's split this.
Right. Or even the girl, she pulls out her card and is like, here, I'll take half or whatever. You know that.
So that's interesting. Like, I'd like to get your perspective because you're 27, I'm 27, and like I've never been on any of the dating apps. Like, when Tinder first came out, like, I got it just to fucking like see what it was all about for like a week, and then I'm like, oh, this is fucking retarded, and I got rid of that. I'm more about, like, to me, it's more challenging, and I'd rather just like meeting people in person. But I think a lot of people do use, like, what do you see?
So I've personally, I've never
millennials.
used any dating apps.
Really?
Either.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never used any. But you know, I mean, we're in our 20s. Almost everybody has used it to some capacity. Yeah. You know, and I don't really get it because you can only learn so much about someone through a profile online. Yeah. Everyone's going to put their best forward, but if you're really looking for a relationship with, which, you know, not everybody is, but if you're really looking for a partner, what are you really learning about someone if you're only observing, if you're only getting a snapshot of their best features? Yeah. You know, so
to me too, it's like when like I'm physically attracted to a lot of girls, but like mentally or whatever it is, there that like connection, that invisible connection, there's very few of those that exist. So it's like, for me, like if I went on fucking online and was looking at a bunch of girls, I could be attracted just to their picture, to fucking guys, like to like 80% of them. But you know, then when it comes down to like, is there that actual in person? There's very few that exist like that. And it's like, to me, the way I saw it was like things like Tinder was more of like, for girls, it was more of just kind of like an ego boost because they have like fucking, they're bombarded
guys are
with
dogs, man. Like, and it's so exhausting, you know, because it really feeds into the social stigma that men are trash or whatever, you know. But I mean, gosh, a girl puts up a picture of herself at the right angle with the right lighting or whatever. I mean,
some filter on it.
Yeah, you know, and it's easily, you know, within minutes, phones going off the hook. Hey, you know, a lot of people are,
hey girl,
right, or whatever.
Damn, you look good.
Exactly. So, but the thing is, I mean, everybody can do that. Everybody can find a spot or find a look that makes them look attractive physically.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's face value, you know. What's your conversation like? What's important to you? You know, how does your mind work? You know, family values or code of ethics, you know, whatever. What are your aspirations? You know, those are the things that you really start to learn about somebody, I feel like. And that's where attraction comes into play. That's where that connection is forged. You know what I'm saying? So, for that reason, for that premise aside, you know, alongside the fact, like, I've been in a relationship for 2 years, and our first date, I mean, it wasn't off of a social media app. It wasn't anything. She came into the bar I was working at one day, and then she came back the next week, and we started talking, and we exchanged information, and then we moved forward from there.
Yeah.
And then our first date, you know, we went out, and both of us super nervous, you know, super nervous. We go and sit down, and we're feeling each other out, but the conversation flowed so effortlessly because I didn't have an agenda. She didn't have an agenda. And we ended up being there. I mean, we were supposed to meet at, I think it was like 9 or whatever. And we were there till 2, just talking. Just talking, you know, and I love that story about us because it's so genuine and it's so organic that from that foundation, we've been able to build something, you know, where we feel comfortable with open lines of communication with one another. And that's cool. I feel like any relationship, whether it's intimate or platonic or whatever, I mean, communication is so crucial to anything that if you don't have that, what's the point?
Yeah.
So
definitely. Hell yeah. I like that. So where do you see, cause like our grandparents' generation, that was a generation where it was kind of socially expected that, you know, you get married young, you have kids, and, you know, you fucking stay married until you die. And then you look at, like, I think I know you said too, like my parents, you know, they were never together really. So, I mean, I grew up with a single mother. So where do you see like millennial, like younger generations going? Do you think they'll go back to like,
I think with there's so much going on, you know, today.
It's fucking crazy.
It's wild. But I think that one thing that millennials are starting to understand, a lot of us, more so than ever before, grew up in single parent households. The thing is, you know, with divorce is such a display of courage that, you know, it's almost like a leap of faith for a parent, at least. You know, how do you go from being together, connected in one roof, if you're not happy and you're you know, just kind of gutting it out for the kids? I was reading an article about staying together for the kids, and
that's bullshit.
It's total bullshit, you know. And what message are you sending your kids if you're staying together for the kids? That it's okay if you're unhappy as long as the family's together? No, that can't be it, you know. And what I was reading, it was an interesting article because it had perspectives from a lot of people, was that those kids that grew up in those households, they as they got older, they realized, you know, their parents' marriage was a sham, essentially. Like, it was BS.
That's
and
fucked.
so now you've got, you know, all of these kids who are now adults going to therapy because they can't wrap their minds around the fact that their parents were never happy from as long as they can remember. But, you know, being divorced and being willing to do that, I mean, it's amazing what single parents are capable of accomplishing, you know, if they commit to it. And it's no easy task. It's definitely no easy task. And some single parents have it easier than others. You know, like my mom, fortunately for myself, my mother, and my sister, you know, my grandmother lived 10 minutes down the road. And so she was always like, we would go to her house after school and she would watch us while my mom was completing her master's and stuff like that, you know. And not everybody is afforded that luxury as a single parent. So I think that for millennials moving forward, what we're seeing is there are a lot more people who are taking their happiness into their own hands, which is important, because these single parents, now they're sending the message to your kids and future generations, like, look, your most important thing is your mental health, is making sure that you're sane mentally and emotionally. Don't let somebody else take charge of your happiness, you know?
Hell yeah.
And it sounds, even as I'm saying it, all this stuff sounds so cliche, but it really resonates when you really sit down and think about it. As we get older, and you know, you're 27 and I'm 27, we're trying to figure our way out through life. What's important? My happiness is important to me. You know, my emotional and mental well-being is very important to me. So, you know.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, going off of that, I feel like a lot of people, maybe in their heads, they're saying, you know, oh, is it selfish that, you know, I in this friendship, or I in this relationship, is it selfish of me to put my own, you know, interests, I guess, ahead of other people, or your health, or your mental health ahead of other people? But I think you have to do that, and whether it's friends or family members, or I think you have to do, especially our generation, because there's so many pressures economically, you know, all sorts of different pressures. I mean, I think you have to do whatever you have to do to get yourself mentally healthy, because it's like there's so many people out there that will drag you down, and whether it's consciously or unconsciously, and whether they're a friend or a family member or whatever it is, it's like, it's not doing it in a selfish or mean way, but I mean, for some people, you have to cut them off. And I think it's okay to do that, because it's like, if you're trying to be the best person and you're really honestly trying to be a good person and better yourself, then you have to fucking do that.
Yeah. And it's crazy because there are so many, like you said, there are so many people who are just, you know, they don't process things that way. They're just looking out for themselves. Narcissists, if you will. I mean, our generation is littered with narcissists, and social media, again, is such a great indicator of that. But gosh, you know, you keep a small circle, you keep the right people around you, and you're gonna be all right. But steering clear, cutting those people off, and that's a big leap as well. That's a huge sign of maturity, being able to set those boundaries and be like, no, you can't treat me that way, or no, I will not do this for you just because you want me to, you know. At the end of the day, if that person's not going to look out for you, why would you do the same thing for them, you know? I don't know,
it's hard, dude. It's hard, like you say. It's like, it's so fucking hard, because it's like, I can feel like a lot of millennial type people, I can see why they get discouraged so quickly, is because there's so many traps out there. And not only maybe potentially will people take advantage of you, but fucking, you know, the school system, you know, I mean, everybody's out there to fucking get you. It seems like
everyone's trying to get a leg up. Everyone's trying to get a leg up. And the unfortunate side of that is, sometimes you kind of have to fall flat on your face to learn. I mean, those are where the most important lessons in life are kind of established, right? You know, you can learn something from your father by him telling you, but you're not really going to understand the depth of what he's trying to relay to you until you experience it yourself. You know, hey, don't spend that $500 on those, you know, those concert tickets, you know, because it's going to put you in a spot financially. Oh man, forget him. I'm gonna do it anyway. And then you look 3 weeks ahead of time, and now all of a sudden, you know, you living on bread and ramen for the next till the next paycheck, because, you know, so sometimes there are life's most important lessons are learned through trial and error. And because of that, I think that it's okay to fail, as long as you look for the lesson in that failure. You know, there's really no other way around it. Sometimes you want to fall flat on, you have to fall flat on your face, and you'll have family members and friends that are trying to prevent you from that. But and those are good people who are trying to keep you from doing so. But sometimes you kind of just have to get burned to learn from it and grow from it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so so what do you see? What do you think is the biggest what are the biggest issues out there for young people right now as far as keeping them from being successful or being happy or whatever?
I think a lot of it is, and I think we've already touched on, I think a lot of it is, you know, social media. And I think a lot of it is just getting caught up in our status from a superficial standpoint. There is a level of commitment that is required for anybody to achieve their goals, you know. And a lot of people, you know, you look on social media, you see all the celebrity accounts or whatever, and all we see are people reaping the benefits of what they've sowed. They don't see, you know, the late nights, the early mornings, or the sleepless nights, or, you know, the times where you're living paycheck to paycheck or whatever, or the times where someone's going to school endlessly, constantly, it seems like, you know, trying to get to that next step. Everyone just wants the easy route. But one thing I always try to tell people around me is, look, it's going to be tough, you know, but it's going to be a grind. You know, life is a grind. Life is totally a grind. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Life is absolutely a grind. I'm trying to figure it out. You're trying to figure it out. But man, take pride in that. And
don't give up.
Right.
And don't get resentful. I feel like that's a bad spot to get into, is when you start thinking that nothing ever good is going to happen to you and it's always going to be shitty and everything's always going to be shit. Because I mean, once you start thinking like that on a constant basis, that's just fucked. Yeah. You know?
But you know what the thing, and that's, what is that? What do you call that? Depression. You know, people think like, and it's like, that's that's not my battle. So it's hard for me to speak on it, but my heart aches for people that get to feeling hopeless in that regard. You know, like, you know, there's always someone, even if someone were to come into my job and tell me, you know, look, I'm struggling. I don't feel like I can do anything. And I don't know this person. I'm going to sit down with that person. I'm going to talk to that person, you know, because no one should ever feel hopeless. No one should ever feel helpless, you know?
But I feel like if, you know, speaking on that, it's like in our society, you know, everybody wants to present themselves as being successful. Like, nobody wants to be a fucking loser. Right. You know, and if you look at the statistics, though, I mean, more than half of Americans, you know, I think it's like make under 30 grand a year. So more than half of Americans are living basically paycheck to paycheck.
Shit, you couldn't tell from social media.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like, but we're so conditioned to not be open like that and go to somebody and say, man, you know, I'm struggling, or I'm trying to figure things out, because it's like, we don't want to, I don't know, you don't want to look weak, or you don't want to, but it's like, I feel like that's where you get a lot of these people who, you know, bottle it all up, and then they just fucking, you know, shoot a bunch of people, or, you know, do some crazy shit.
Well, like, the thing is, like, where does that mentality come from? Where does that hold it all in mentality come from? You know, you think of the previous generation, you think of our parents or their parents who might have told them, hey, you know, you might be going through something. Like, my mom was always, you know, you might be going through this, but guess what? You're going to have to gut it out anyway. Yeah. And for the longest time, I was just like, all right, you know, like, if I had a ton of homework, I got to do it. And, you know, or if I had to work, like, if I get scheduled for a double, even now that mindset still applies. And I think it's good to an extent, but as I get older and as I forge relationships with the people around me, I'm learning that it's okay to be open about, especially as men, you know, because men are so conditioned to believe, oh, we can't show weakness, or we can't be emotional,
be real,
know? Right? We can't be real with each other. And as I've gotten older and kind of come into my own a little bit, I have no problem, you know, telling one of my friends, hey man, I love you. You know, I love you. I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? And that's just cool, that's almost taboo for one man to tell another, you know, but I don't want, the thing that sticks with me is, I don't want one day something to happen and someone close to me never know how I felt about him. You know what I'm saying? Cool, I don't want my sister to never know how proud of her I am. I don't want any of my teammates to ever know how much I appreciate and love them like little brothers. You know what I'm saying? Or older brothers, you know, but I don't want that opportunity to go to waste. So, and if I'm going through something, I have to be okay opening up about it. you know, because it's healthy. It's a healthy release. It's a healthy social interaction.
Yeah.
And I feel so much better talking through my problems than I do not and just holding it in.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And,
definitely.
You know, that's kind of where therapists come into play, and therapists get such a bad rap because you tell someone, oh yeah, I'm going to see a therapist, and they're like, oh, this dude's crazy.
He's weak.
Yeah, he's weak.
Well, that's why I thought growing up, like I never went to a therapist, but I mean, that's kind of what, I don't know how I got this into my head, but that was kind of always the mentality that I had is like people who go to therapists, they're fucked up, they're broken.
Right. There's something wrong with them. Yeah, but you know, sometimes you just need someone to talk to.
Hell yeah.
Someone to bounce.
Unbiased.
Yeah,
unbiased.
Exactly. You know, and so, gosh, therapists are so important to society, you know, and so I as men, I think it's women are great at it. Women are so good. I mean, and that's I don't mean
because they talk so much.
I don't mean that to be sexist or anything, but women are so good at just, you know, getting together with their girlfriends or calling up one of their girlfriends and just talking and just, you know, opening up or venting or whatever. And yeah, they might be long-winded, you know, to put it one way or another, but you know, it's good for them. And you know, how many times have you heard a girl say, "Oh, I just needed a good cry."
Yeah.
You know,
like I just needed to talk about it.
Right. I just needed to talk.
Yeah.
And as men, you don't ever hear men say
I just
that.
needed to talk, Alex.
Right. You know, and that's I get it. Like as I get older, I get it. I get where that's coming from. So.
Yeah. Hell yeah. So we're, you know, we talked about this a little before we're, you know, on the microphone or mic'd up or whatever, but I was just talking about, you know, like housing for young people and, you know, what do you think about kind of like that whole situation right now? Because, you know, I had my dad on here. That was the last episode that I did. And he's been in the property management industry his whole career. So basically they own or manage apartment complexes. And, you know, like I was talking to him, it's like, it seems like anymore, you know, all they're building is fucking apartment complexes or they're not building affordable housing for young people. And young people already, as it is, either they're in a shitload of debt from schooling or, you know, they're living paycheck to paycheck. So it's not like most young people have a large amount of savings to where they can go out and buy something. So it's like, what do you kind of see as far as like that situation with young people?
I think it's being, I mean, that's one of the biggest challenges being young is housing, you know, like we were talking about, you know, I like my alone time. So I enjoy living alone. So like if there were ever a situation where I needed to move and I wanted to get a spot somewhere, but I didn't want a roommate, that's that much more responsibility on my shoulders to carry the load and pay for rent and utilities and all that stuff. But how many of your friends do you know that have roommates, you know, and they, you know, they might not want them, but they have to have them to make ends meet. I don't really know what the answer is to that. You know, I don't really know what can be done to improve that situation for younger people other than, you know, and it's a cycle, but going back to school and living in a dorm or something, you know what I'm saying? Where it's all inclusive, but even then you're compiling debt like nobody's business. So, I know a lot of my friends have roommates. Or the thing is now, like as we kind of shift from being in our early to mid 20s to late 20s, they might be getting a house or they move in with their partners or whatever, where they have assistance, you know. It'd be great.
Dual income or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it'd be great if there was something that would provide like aid, you know, like for school you have financial aid, you know. It'd be nice if there was some sort of program available to, you know, young adults coming out of college, or maybe even they didn't go to school but they're just looking to make ends meet, you know. I mean, yeah, you could take out a loan, but who wants to take out a loan to rent
Fuck
you know?
that. Hell no.
So it's tough. Like I've been fortunate to where that's not really something that I've had to be concerned myself with too much. But
it's so shitty to be having to pay, you know, to work hard and then every month just give it all away to fucking rent. And especially when, you know, first of all, maybe you're living in some shithole and you're like, fuck this place anyways. But then also it's almost like you're just throwing it away. And the thing that, you know, I think is shitty, and you know, there's so many greedy people in our countries. It's like, you know, you know, these people are just, they're just trying to suck as much money out of people as possible, and it's like that's gonna backfire at some point, because you see, even here in Arizona, this isn't traditionally a place where there's a lot of homeless, but like the homeless is definitely on the rise here.
There's a lot more, than what I remember growing up here. And you see so much.
I see young people now. Young people.
Yeah, and I mean, like, we've all been there. We've all of us have worked, and then you see, you know, rent takes it out, or health insurance, or paying off loans, or, you know, whatever. And then you just, everyone knows that feeling of, you know, getting a paycheck and being like, all right, cool, I'm good, you know, and then all of a sudden you check your bank account a couple days later and you see the withdrawals and you're like,
fuck,
what? It just happened, you know? That's a shitty feeling. That is a very challenging. It's
depressing.
It's a challenging pill to swallow. But, you know, how do we reverse that cycle? How do we? That's a problem that, you know, it's almost something the government would have to do. But how do you do that? Our country in whole is in so much debt that. Yeah.
But know, I mean, is your I mean, ultimately, is owning a home, is that something you want to do, or do you see yourself renting, or?
I would like to own a home. Yeah. I would like to own a home. I would like to you know, everyone has a dream, their dream, and I would like to own a home. It's not, if I ended up just renting a home, I mean, that would be cool, but ultimately I'd like to own. I'd like, my grandmother, she's been in the same house since she moved to the States for 46 years or something. Holy shit. It's paid off. You know, she loves it.
That's awesome.
And it's cool because, like, when we go there, like, that's where my parents grew up, or that's where my mom and my uncle grew up.
Okay.
That's where my sister and we lived there for a number of years when we first moved to Arizona.
Okay.
So, and, you know, we spent so much time there just walking home after school. We went to elementary school right there. My cousins, who are all younger than me, they spent a considerable amount of time growing up. So there's generations of family under that roof, and right outside she put like a little cement area, and we all have our handprints there. It's cool. And inside she's got our heights as we get older, you know, like, so 4'11", age whatever, you know, so. And it's cool. It's great, you know, that it's
a home. It's a family home.
It's very much a home, you know. And with renting, like, you know, you could rent for so long, but then at some point it almost becomes more financially reasonable to just, you know, put a payment down and just, you know, start working towards that. But so I would like to have that. I think it's great that every time I go back to visit my grandmother, I can look in the back room and be like, oh, that's where I slept, you know, and look into the other room, and that's where my mom slept when she was a child, and that's where my sister slept when we were growing up. You know? So.
Yeah, I definitely feel like for me, and I feel like for a lot of people, I mean, your home is super important.
Right.
Because that's where you go at the end of the day. To unwind.
Regroup,
yeah, that's like your space, you know, and it's you.
That's what it is. Like, you know, like I told you earlier, you know, I like going home and just unwinding, and I like being at home. I love being home. It's just something about it that you can't replace that feeling. It's something, it's being in your comfort zone. It's being in your own bubble, however you want to phrase it. But, man, it's just it's great to go be able to be in somewhere that you feel that comfortable with and having that time to recharge.
Yeah, hell yeah. Definitely. So what do you think, just real quick too, what do you think about what's going on politically in this country? Are you voting?
I did vote.
Did you?
I did vote. Yeah, okay. I submitted my ballot.
Yeah, so did I.
I think our country is a mess. Yeah. I think that.
Did you vote in the 2016 presidential election?
I did not.
No.
I did not. I didn't turn my ballot in time.
Okay.
So
you were thinking about it, but then you're like,
right.
These people fucking suck.
Yeah. I was just like, you know what? I'm just, but you know, that mentality of not really knowing which direction to go, and it kind of, one saying that I kind of repeat to myself when I'm in a spot is, nothing changes if nothing changes. And I don't know who said it, but it really resonates with me. And, you know, nothing changed. I mean, okay, so in this instance, in relation to politics in this country, if I don't use my here's my opportunity to say something. And last time I didn't utilize, it wasn't high enough on my priority list to utilize it.
Yeah.
Okay. If I'm unhappy, what's the point of me looking for change if I don't do anything about it? And this is my opportunity to do something about it. So I made sure to do so this time around, That's
dope. Like that.
I think other countries have to look at us and be like, man, these motherfuckers
what the fuck?
tripping.
Yeah.
Like how come every time someone sees the United States on television, they're talking about, this is the greatest country in the world. Other countries we have to be the laughing stock.
Man, I'll tell you what, when Donald Trump met with Kim Jong-un in person, that was like a mind fuck. I was like, is this even like, this can't be fucking real. Like just that image alone of Donald fucking Trump standing next to Kim Jong. I mean, that's some weird ass shit.
Dude, I tell you, like, and so for a while, I was kind of the mindset that, everything that's going on is so depressing. I don't want any part of it.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. But, ignorance is bliss to a degree, but, what good am I to our country? What good am I to future generations if I'm just living in this bubble of ignorance the entire time, so it's hard, but I'll try and tune in every so often to, what's going on in politics, what's going on socially, what's going on just in our country in general, just because the more that I know, the better that I'm able to teach myself and educate myself on what's going on, then that allows me to formulate my own opinion. And that's a hard thing about this country is mainstream media is so divided. Whoever you get your information from,
they're biased.
It's totally biased. And for a while I struggled trying to find an unbiased source.
So what do you go to on a
So I like the Reuters.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have that app and so I check it every so often. A lot of times, especially with phones nowadays, just being able to see a headline is enough to kind of give you an idea of what's going on. And then when I have time, I'll sit down and kind of do some research on it later. But just, everyone's so divided about Fox News, or everyone's so divided about CNN or whatever.
Fake news.
Yeah, it's just like, man, look, like even watching, like it's hard for without getting into what my preferences from a political standpoint, my beliefs. Just watching either side, it's just like, it's exhausting. It's like, dude, I just want the facts. Just tell me what happened and leave the side comments for when you guys are off the air.
What's your take on Donald Trump? What do you think?
I'm not a big fan. I feel like,
what don't you like about him?
The bigotry. I think he's a very powerful man. Obviously he's a very wealthy man. But with that comes a lot of responsibility. I don't think he takes that responsibility seriously. I don't think that I think he's a brilliant business mind. And if I were an entrepreneur or a business savant by any stretch, I think that, he would be someone that I would probably really tap into. That's not really my niche. I really just want to be able to, I want to treat people fair. I want to see people treated equally. Yeah. And I don't think that he embodies that. Yeah. I don't think that he's the person for that.
That was the biggest mindfuck to me, is it's like his, supposedly his, base of people that voted for him were, people in middle America, people who tended, maybe not vote, and they came out and they voted for him because they thought that he was somebody who was speaking to them. But this guy's literally a fucking billionaire from New York City. He has never given a fuck about anybody in middle America. Trust me, his entire life.
Exactly. And, for us, being in Arizona and everyone's talking about this wall. And, this wall is...
And the caravan, have you heard about that?
I did hear about
the caravan.
Yeah. And I'm just like, man, who are we? And I get it. Like, the other side of it is people talking about, we have to protect our country first. We have to look after our country first.
Nationalism.
Nationally, yeah, But on the other side, we present ourselves and we advertise this country as being a land of country of opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't people try and come in here? And in the process for immigrants to become legalized is so it's a
long process.
Long. Yeah, I mean, I had people that I went to school with and I didn't even know at the time, but their parents, some of them were illegal immigrants, and some of them were trying to become, we're going through that process. It take 15, 20 years.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I see posts on Facebook. Oh my gosh, my parents just received their citizenship, and that's such an amazing thing. But who are we to turn these people away and tell them, no, you don't get to come in here. You don't get to come in. We're gonna advertise this country as being this great thing, but you don't get to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Right.
That's why I like to, the way I like to think about it is like, I'm human first and I'm American second.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, I'm for fucking humans being happy and moving that whole bar forward.
Right.
So it's like, have you heard the latest thing in the past couple of days that came out that, supposedly Trump's trying to reverse, whatever laws that are in place as far as if an illegal alien comes over here and has a child and the child is born in the USA, right now they're a citizen because they're born, but he's trying to get, that reversed. So, I mean, that's totally fucked though, because it's like, if you're born in this country, you're an American.
Right.
It's so crazy.
Right. So I don't like.
Were you into Bernie Sanders at all?
So like I said, there were some things that I liked about him, and there were some things I didn't. And that's kind of why I was like, I don't know. I ended up just kind of not being able to vote because, I mean, if I'm a middle class American and if I am established financially and if I'm all about my money, then there's a good chance that I would support Donald Trump. And I'm not saying that for me personally, but I'm saying, for people who are of that status from
trying to protect their own wealth.
Exactly. And I'll never forget a conversation I had with a friend of mine a while back, and we were talking about student loans and all this stuff, and just the amount of debt that everyone is in. And she was saying, oh well, I got through school and my parents paid for school, and I shouldn't have to pay for other people to go to school, through her taxes or whatever,
Wait, what?
There was something she was saying about
because your student loans aren't being paid by taxes.
Right. There was what did she say? Because all I know is we butted heads about it, and I was like, whoa, and this is clearly basically it was clearly a case of her being coming from one socioeconomic status and me coming from another, and just two realities coming to meet, and it just didn't really. I wish I could remember that conversation better, because it was actually out, and I reflect on it and I think, man, that's crazy. It's just two different realities. How do you
not have any empathy?
How do you step into someone else's shoes and really see things from from their perspective? But it's the same thing can be applied to the political divide or the social divide in this country. I mean, for you and I, we're privileged in that sense. We have our citizenship, we have our rights, and whatever, and really just depending on our stance on people searching for that's going to determine where we are as far as a society moving forward, and how what we want to see from the government moving forward.
Yeah. Well, to me, like the way I've said this 1,000 times, I think when we originally met, I said this is like, I want as many people around me to be as happy and healthy as possible, because that enhances my life too.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know why, everybody's not thinking that way, because if you're fucking rich and that's great and blah, 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 but if you're, on a mountaintop and you're surrounded by slums, then that's fucking depressing.
Well, even just being rich in general, with the Powerball right now. What's the Powerball? And
did somebody win that?
I don't know. I don't think so. Did they win? Oh, wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. But I was listening to some other guys talk, and they were talking about how everyone that's won the Powerball is miserable. And then there was that one lady who she won, but she didn't want her identity to be released. You know what I'm saying?
I could feel that.
And everyone, it's a common question in any social circle. You go, what would you do if you won the lottery?
Yeah.
What would you do if you won the lottery? And everyone has their things or whatever, but what's the point of having all that money if you don't have the happiness? I would rather be happy. Look, if I live paycheck to paycheck, but you know, at the end of the day, my partner is happy, my kids are happy, my siblings are happy, my family's happy, I'm golden. I don't need to be laid down in the ground when it's all said and done with this elaborate thing. I would feel totally content knowing that I contributed to my circle's happiness as a whole. But that's just me. Yeah. For what it's worth. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Well, hell yeah. That's cool. Anything else you want to add on top of this? Anything that's going on right now? Anything crazy?
No, man.
No? Kanye West? Anything about Kanye West? Shout out to Kanye West.
No. What did he say? Girl. He said the other day that he said I think it was just yesterday, he said he didn't want to be involved in politics anymore.
Yeah. Well, he finally realized that he was being used. Did you see that video when he went to the White House and he spoke to Donald Trump?
I read an article on it.
Dude, you have got to watch that video. Just on YouTube, put in Kanye West Oval Office. It's like 20 minutes long. Okay, so this was like a few weeks ago, I think. You know, when Trump arranges this whole thing, and it's a publicity stunt. Right, they're in the fucking Oval Office, and they have like, you know, all this media around them, and Kanye West was with some ex-NFL guy that was supposedly real. I'm terrible with fucking sports. I can't remember his name. But anyways, he didn't talk at all. And Kanye basically like ranted for 20 minutes. But
I saw a skit on it. I saw a skit on it on SNL. They did a parody of it. Yeah. I don't remember the NFL player's name, but
the shit that he said was like, you know, he's talking to the president, which is just Donald Trump, but he's talking about like, you know, different dimensions and, you know, like all this. And he obviously has he's got some mental health issues going on, but it was just so fucking bizarre. So yeah, hopefully good for him. Hopefully he did.
Yeah. The thing with, I mean,
because celebrities,
they again, don't have all the answers. No, they don't. But we gush over them as if they're some sort of gods walking amongst us. You know what I'm saying? But they're humans just like us, you know, and then they're put in this spotlight. And, you know, Kanye West is someone who's got a lot going on, you know, and for him, I mean, great artist, I think he's a genius from a musical standpoint, and I think that he kind of buried himself in that when his mom passed or whatever. But that guy I think his mental health needs to be taken more seriously, you know, and I don't think he's doing himself any favors by getting wrapped up with the Kardashians or whatever. But,
they've fucked over every guy they've come in contact with.
Yeah.
Who we got? We got Lamar.
Right. You've got, let's see, Lamar.
Bruce turned into a woman.
Yeah. You've got...
who was their brother?
He
went off the deep end, right?
Was it Rob?
Yeah, Rob.
Rob was like, wasn't
Rob? Rob went full fucking fat, you know, fat fuck, and then went off. No. I mean, he's probably, hopefully he's distanced himself, but it's like everybody they've come in contact with.
But
goddamn.
I know that they had one of the sisters was dating a NBA player, and
Lamar.
No, there's another one. Tristan Thompson. He played for the Cavaliers. Shit. Yeah, he played with LeBron James for a while, and you know, he's just. I don't think they're together. I think they have a baby. They might still be together, but I don't know. But I'm just, you know, that whole TV. I'm not a big reality TV show guy, and that whole family is just it's a theatrical circus, and it's disappointing to me that Kanye kind of got roped into that because, you know, now he's caught up in that cycle as well. But he is someone who I just hope that he finds peace of mind emotionally and mentally. Yeah. So as far as he's concerned, that's really if he puts out another project, I'll probably listen to it. Yeah. And chances are I won't like that I like it, but I'll like it. You know what I'm saying? But more importantly, I think at this point in his career, I mean, what is he, 41 or something? Like at this point in his life, he needs to start taking, because he was caught up in drugs for a while. Like he was
prescription drugs.
Prescription. I think he was addicted to something for a while. Oh, fuck. But you know, you've got that, and then you've got Kim Kardashian as your partner. It's not for me. I know that much. Damn, you know. So
yeah. All right. Hell yeah. Well, thank you for talking with me. And
for sure.
This was dope. Maybe do it again sometime if you're interested.
Let me know. You got my number.
Yeah,
anytime.
right.
I'm more than happy to come in.
So. Hell yeah. That's what's up. All righty. Cool. That's it.